Hello, guys. Welcome back to another episode here on African Confessions. There is a message that I want to share with you guys, and this message it comes from a translation of a message that I received. And the translation of that message reads like this: Hello, my brother. How are you? Can you please post my own story as hidden identity? My brother, my story it goes on like this. My confession is about the way that my wife passed away. And when my wife died, I was already dating a best friend. And this thing that I did, it was such an evil thing because if I had not cheated on my wife, maybe even up until today, my wife was going to be alive. But I ended up lasting after her friend. And after being seduced by her friend, I ended up dating her, and this led to the charms that were used by my wife's best friend killing my wife. And I hope that my confession it will come as a warning to all the men that are out there. We know that men, yes, they do cheat, but if you have decided to cheat on your wife, try by all means never to cheat on your wife with a woman that she knows or with a woman that knows your wife. Try to do it with a woman that does not know your wife, because the problem starts when you start dating your wife's best friend. Since she is very close to your wife, she knows all of your wife's mistakes. So by the time that she will start dating you, she will make sure that she fix all of the problems that you will be having in your marriage, and you think that she is a better woman than your wife. But all women are just the same. If you are in bed with her, usually if your wife is a woman that tells her friend everything that you do in bed, she will try to act as if she enjoys some of the things that your wife does not enjoy. All of these things she'll be doing it so that she can seduce you. And another thing, I hope that my confession will come as a warning to other women out there. A woman that is dangerous to your marriage is a woman that is very close to you. What I want to tell all the women that are out there, if they are involved in any relationship, never try to have your friend become a friend of your partner, because they know all of your weaknesses, and it is easy for them to seduce your husband. Because each and every time when you have a fight with your partner, if you go and if you ask for advice from your friend, she will make sure that if she wants to date your husband, it will be quite easy for her. And this is what happened to me. My brother, I just want to encourage people never to let their friends become friends of their own partners, because a lot of stuff will happen in their marriage. My story, it goes on like this. I am a man who is aged 48 years old, and I have three kids. So these kids of mine, two are boys and one is a girl. I am working as a builder, and this is the kind of a job that is making me to be able to take care of my family. When I came here to South Africa, I was alone. Then after that, I then sent some money to my wife so that she can come and stay with me. So when I was staying with my wife, we were really poor, my brother. We were really struggling. And the challenge that I was facing when I started to come here to South Africa as someone who didn't have proper documentation, for me to get a good job, it was quite difficult. So I was just surviving, doing some piece jobs. And with time, God's grace shined upon our lives. And I can say that maybe God had decided to bless me through my wife. This was after my wife had started attending this other church. It was a Pentecostal church. This was in 2012. When she started going to church, this was in 2012, and she was told by the pastor that she had to go on a 1 month fasting period so that she can break down the walls that had been built, the walls of poverty that had us as a family trapped. My wife came back from church on that Sunday, and she said that we had to go on a prayer. And I just laughed at her because she had gone to church for the first time and she had decided to give her life to the church. Now she wanted to go on a 1 month fasting period. I said, you can do it. I'm not going to do it. But my wife, she went on a fasting period just for 1 week. Then everything just changed. There was this other man who was working in the government. He said that he wanted to have a jewel at his house built. So when I was working for him, one of his friends came, and when one of his friends came, then he saw that indeed I was such a great builder. He also had something that he wanted to be built at his house, but that guy, he was staying in the suburbs. Whilst I was working in the suburbs, the man who was staying next door to that man that I was doing a piece job for, he had a construction company. So when he was passing around, he would greet me each and every time. So one day I then stopped him when he was getting out of his house, and I just said, "Boss, I am looking for a job," because I had seen the way that he had been looking at me, and I knew that he was wanted and I knew that he wanted to say something to me. He said, "Indeed, I can see that you have been doing such a great job." He then said that he had a company and he was willing to give me a subcontract if he was going to get another job. So I was really happy. I gave him my numbers. I waited and I waited. After my wife had finished her fasting period, the next month, that was when that white man called me and he said that, "Quickly rush to my house right now." My brother, at that time, me and my wife, we didn't have any money, but my wife, she then went and spoke with this other Somalian guy who she used to do some piece jobs for, who had a spaza shop. Then that Somalian guy gave us the 20 rand. That is what I used so that I can go and speak with that white guy. And I ended up being given a big subcontract. My life, my brother, it just changed overnight. I didn't even know that my life was going to change in such a way. But like they say, when God has decided to bless you, He will do it in a very powerful way, whereby you won't even believe that God has blessed you. Within a short period of time, I was able to have some workers of my own, and quickly I had to buy a buggy so that I can transport my workers. I didn't even have a license, but here I was, a boss having his own personal driver. Life quickly changed and we moved out of the location, but we didn't go very far from the location because I was still getting a lot of piece jobs there in that location. But I was no longer going to those piece jobs. I would send some of my boys, they would be the one that would go to make the bricks as well as building. Life was very good. That white guy, after he had given me that big subcontract where a school was being built, when he saw that me and my boys, the way that we used to work, usually we would wake up at 6 a.m. in the morning, then we would start working. Then by the time that we would knock off, it would be somewhere around 12 a.m. because we were chasing a target. He was really interested. He kept on giving me bigger and bigger projects, and bigger projects, it meant that I was making a lot of money. The next time when I went to Zim, when I came back, that was the first time that I was ever on an aeroplane. And I can guarantee you, my brother, that everything that happened whilst I was on that aeroplane, it was quite a good experience for me because I never thought that in my lifetime I'll ever be on an aeroplane. When I returned back home, my wife, she was really all over social media. These were like the days when everyone was just joining Facebook. So no one had a lot of friends. So you would go around looking for your schoolmates and some of your old friends. Then my wife met this other friend of hers. They both went to the same high school. They were the best of the best friends. So they started communicating, and that woman, she was staying there in the Eastern Cape, and we were staying in another province. They kept on talking. It then happened that when we were now talking on WhatsApp, I wanted to do a surprise for my wife. So I then started talking with my wife's friend, since we were really close and we were in communication and we were like brothers and sisters, the way that we were communicating. Even her husband, he was now more like a younger brother to me, even though we had never met in person. So I told them that I wanted to surprise my wife. Already I had purchased this other car, so the car was still at the dealership. I just wanted them to accompany me to go and collect the gift. And the time that we'll be going to collect this car, my wife will be there with us, but she was the only one who didn't know about this present that I was buying for her for the birthday. I then sent them the money, and they went and they came from the Eastern Cape so that they can come for her big birthday party. And we had a very good special family time. And so when they came, my brother, I then saw that my wife's friend, she was really beautiful. You know, the way that African women are built, you can just see from her backside that, yo, this woman, she is really beautiful. And when I looked at her, she also looked at me. And when someone has feelings for you, she cannot like look at you directly. She will keep on looking at you when you are not looking at her. And by the time that you look back at her, she will pretend as if she was looking at someone else. That is what started happening. And my heart, it started beating really fast. Whilst we were having that party, it happened that I wanted to go to the fridge so that I can collect some few cold drinks. And I felt that I just wanted to go to the toilet. I then went to the toilet and I found that she was in the bathroom. The door was opened and I saw that her jean trousers were really down. I don't know what she was doing, but I really liked everything that I saw. She saw me, Brother Nashi, and she didn't even act as if she was shocked with everything that had happened. She just said, "Oh, please, can you close the door?" Whilst she was looking at me. So from there on, my brother, we started communicating, and I would communicate with her during the afternoon. And when I would go back home, she would say, "Please delete your messages." Even sometimes she will say, "You can even block me." But I said, if I block you, it is going to be very suspicious to my wife. And we used to talk, and we used to joke about a lot of naughty stuff that people that are not married are not allowed to joke about. And this was like my wife's best friend, and we started talking and talking until she started to have a lot of fighting with her husband. It then happened that she said, so the more that we talked, that was when she started fighting with her husband. So my wife, one day when I had returned from work, she asked me for a favor and I said it is fine. She then said, "Is it possible that my friend can come and stay with us whilst she is looking for a job?" Because in that city where we were staying, there was one of her other relative that was also staying there, but at the place where they were staying, there was not a lot of space. So, and since we had so many rooms, now that we were renting a full house, we had space for her. I agreed and I said it is fine. And in my heart, when I agreed, I knew that this woman, I wanted her to be very close to me since I was lasting after a beautiful body. She then came, and when she came, she said that she had gotten divorced from her husband. So we started staying together. And now I knew that I had two women in my house. My brother, one day when I woke up early in the morning, I then found out that her door was wide open. And the way that she was sleeping in bed, you could see that she was not wearing anything. I then got the nerves, my brother, since I had seen that my wife, she was sleeping. My wife, she used to sleep very late, and by the time that I'll be preparing to go to work, she would never wake up because she used to watch movies until it was very late. That woman, when she saw me getting into her room, she just opened her eyes and she looked at me and she covered her head. And I saw that she was opening her legs as if she wanted me to touch her. By the time that I wanted to touch her, I just felt so nervous and I rushed out of her bedroom. I then went to work. When I was at work, I saw a message and she was like, "So, what were you trying to do?" And I told her that I had feelings for her. She just laughed at me and she said, "No, you cannot have feelings for me just for nothing. What are you going to give me?" I then said, "How about I give you 1.5?" And she said, "Wow, no one has ever given me such a huge amount of money." So I gave her the first time that I slept with her 1.5. And we did this when my wife had gone to church and she pretended as if she was not okay on that day to go to church. The next time, I then gave her 3,000 rands so that I can continue dating her. I then said, "Look, me and you, we are really into each other. How about I find you a nice place?" And at work, I had already instructed one of my HR to create this other profile. And I told him that this was someone who was working for me, but this person, he was working for me remotely. And the reason why I had done this, it was because I knew that my wife, she used to look at the books, at the financials. So if I was going to hire a non-existent person, then it meant that I would be able to take care of my girlfriend, whom I wanted her to become my second wife. So each and every month, money will be loaded into her account as if she was working for me, but she was not working for me at all. So, my brother, this is what we were doing until one day when that woman said that she had fallen pregnant for me. I was really excited, and already I was speaking with some of her relatives. Then one of her younger sister then told me that it was a lie. She was not pregnant at all. So I got really angry. For 2 months, my brother, I never wanted to speak with her or to do anything at all. That was when she went to Mozambique. When she went to Mozambique, all that she wanted was for me to return back to her. And what she did the next time that I returned to her, I saw her on that day. She didn't used to do this. Usually, after making love to her, she will just sleep and I'll just wake up and go and wash my manhood. But on that night, she had a small bucket of water. After we had made love, she took one of those small cloths that women use when they are wiping themselves. Then she started wiping me and she washed my manhood. She then took that bucket and she just placed it almost underneath the bed because we had a very big, those big sized bed that I had bought for her. So I was really tired on that day that I didn't even want to ask her. I then said tomorrow I would ask her why she had done something strange like that. The next day when I woke up, I saw that the bucket was there, but the water was not there. I then said, what happened to the water that was in there? She said that she had urinated in that bucket throughout the night, so she didn't want that smell to be in the room when I would have woken up. So she had gone and just flushed everything in the toilet. I just said it is fine. When I returned back home, when I made love to my wife, the next morning, my wife said that she had a strange dream. And in that dream, she saw me walking naked into our bedroom. But when I started making love to her, she felt so much pain inside her private parts, and she then looked at my private parts. To her surprise, I didn't have like my normal manhood, but there was just a worm that was full of thorns in place of my manhood. When she was asking me what was happening, that was when I just disappeared. So I just said, maybe it is just a dream. But my brother, few weeks after this, that was when my wife really got so sick. She started to have such discharge whereby if that discharge would come out, even if she would bath with whatever soap, then that discharge will be very smelly. You will never sit with her in the car or in the bedroom if that discharge was coming out. The smell that was coming out of her, it was more like rotten fish. The smell that rotten fish gives out, that was the smell that I would feel whenever she was with me. And I had tried to take her to different doctors, but still they said that they didn't even understand what was happening to her. And what was happening, my brother, was that her womb was rotting. And then there was one day when I was with her, she said that she just wanted us to enjoy since we had not enjoyed for a very long time. And since this was my wife, I just said that let me just ignore the smell and let us just make love. As I was making love, when I pulled out my manhood, I then saw that there was blood all over my manhood as well as some white tissue. And that white tissue that was all over my manhood, I saw that there was something that was really damaged inside her womb. I then rushed her to the hospital where she was admitted. And after I had rushed her to the hospital, they said that an operation was supposed to be done so that they can remove her womb because her womb, it had already gotten rotten whilst she was still alive. I don't even know if it is possible that someone's internal organ can rot whilst that person is still alive. I would see that the sneakers that I would have selected for that day, they will be so wet. And when I would ask her what the hell is going on, at that time she was now going to the white garment churches. She would then say that this is just holy water that I have been spraying around the house so that evil spirits cannot like disturb your business. But my brother, when I saw that this woman, she really loved using a lot of herbs, I then went back home and I spoke with one of my brothers and I told him everything that had happened. And my brother then said that all that we have to do, let us try to find a healer that can give you some medicine and herbs. If there is anything that she has cooked for you, then you can be able to vomit all of that stuff. It then happened that me and my brother and my sister, we then went to this other area where there was a traditional healer who confirmed and said that there were a lot of rituals that were being done by that woman that I was staying with, so that she can keep me to herself and not even concentrate on my kids, because even though me and her, we never had any kids at all, but I was only concentrating on her love, and I had forgotten about my kids. Yet I was someone who was making a lot of money. When we went there, my brother, that healer then cooked some porridge for me. And after I had eaten that traditional porridge, I started vomiting. I vomited throughout the day until I felt so much pain, like in my stomach area, with the way that I was vomiting. Just when I thought that I had finished vomiting, that was when diarrhea hit me. I would run to the toilet and just sit on the toilet because of the way that the diarrhea had affected me. And after I was done, I felt really good, and I started to notice that the thing that I had done, it was quite evil. I should have never slept with my wife's best friend, but it was already late because my wife, she had since passed away. And as for my wife, I only saw a spirit once. This was when we were traveling with her body back to our country. I just saw a spirit because I was in another taxi that we were using. I just saw her. She was just sitting just next to the driver. Yet the person who was sitting next to the driver, it was one of my nephew. He was the one who was sitting there. But I saw his body being transformed, and it became the body of my wife. She just turned around, and when I blinked, my brother, I saw that it was my nephew who was speaking with me. And at that time, since this secret I had not yet told anyone, I was scared of telling people that this is what I had seen. But ever since that day, I have never seen my wife's spirit again. I hope that she is resting in. Since that day, I have never seen my wife's spirit again. I just hope that she is resting in peace. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our listeners. Then we had to have it translated.